1.5, we're allowed to use our shortcut rules now. Your first one is a constant. The derivative of a constant is always 0. Your second one is your basic power rule. Your power rule says take your exponent, 9, move it out front and multiply by its coefficient. So 9 times 4 is 36, x, and then you drop your exponent by 1, and that's where we get 8. On the next one, same thing. You've got an understood 1 out front. -7 times 1 is -7. Be careful here. If you drop your exponent by 1, you get -8. To reduce this, the -7 stays at the top. To get rid of a negative exponent, you drop your exponent term to the bottom and make it positive. So on 4, multiply -6 by the number out front, you get -42. X, drop your exponent by 1, your new exponent is -7. Let's simplify it like the previous one. -42 stays on top. To get rid of the negative exponent, you drop it to the bottom and make it positive. Taking the derivative of a polynomial is the same as an individual term. You're just going to take the derivative of each piece. So 3 times 3 is 9x. Drop your exponent by 1, x squared. 2 times -10 is -20. Drop your exponent by 1. You have an understood 1 there. Currently your exponent is 1. 1 times 12 is 12. Drop your exponent by 1. You get x to the 0. So that term is gone because x to the 0 is 1. And then the last term, 2, the derivative of a constant is 0. So you don't have to write it. On 6, we might want to adjust this a little bit. So let's change this to 10x raised to the 1/2. And make a little note, the square root of x is the same thing as x raised to the 1/2. So you can always change a radical to an exponent. Well, now it works just like the ones we've been doing. Y prime equals 1/2 times 10. Half of 10 is 5. X. Drop your exponent by 1. So in this case, 2 over 2 is 1. I'm going to go ahead and get a common denominator. So your new exponent here is -1/2. Personally, I do not like negative exponents. I don't mind the fraction. Leave the 5 on the top. You can drop your x to the 1/2 to the bottom. If you don't like the fraction exponent, you can take it back to a radical form and write it as square root. Either way is fine. You can have the exponent as a fraction or go back to radical. It does not matter. On 7, y prime equals, move your exponent to the front, multiply it by the 1. And this time when I subtract 1 off, I'm going to subtract off 9 over 9 because it's the common denominator. Your new exponent becomes -13 over 9. And let's go ahead and simplify it. Keep -4 on top. Your 9 stays on bottom, and I'm going to drop 13 over 9 to the bottom too. On 8, we need it written as a coefficient times an x raised to a power. You don't know how to work with it on the bottom yet. So the first thing I'm going to do is rearrange this, and I'm going to bring x to the 7th up. So just like you brought it down to make it positive, you can bring it up across its opposite side and make it negative. So now that it's written in the right form, -7 times -20 is positive 140. X, drop your exponent by 1. Your new exponent becomes -8. And let's reduce it. 140 stays on top. X to the 8th drops to the bottom. 9 always confuses people because of how it's written, but usually if I rewrite it as the fraction to the front with the x to the side, it makes more sense. So in this case, your exponent is 1. 1 times 7/4 is 7/4. And if you drop your exponent by 1, you get 0, so your x term is gone. And the last one says, it's just a different notation. It says, what is the derivative of that? So let me just kind of write it a different way. we're going to say y equals the 6th root of x minus 2 over x. Maybe this will help you. So let's also rearrange this. Just like the square root of x was x to the 1/2, the 6th root is going to be x to the 1/6. And then my 2 over x, I can't work with that. I need to bring the x up. To bring it up, make its current exponent negative. So it starts with a 1, bring it up, it becomes a -1. Now we're set up to do the derivative. So y prime equals, let me change colors here. Bring your 1/6, multiply it by the 1, you get 1/6 x. Drop your exponent by 1. Your new exponent becomes -5/6. And then on your next term, -1 times -2 is +2x. Drop your exponent by 1, and your new exponent becomes -2. So to simplify this thing, y prime equals 1's on top, 6 is on bottom, drop your 5/6 to the bottom to make it positive, plus 2's on top, and drop your x to the bottom with a +2 to make it positive.